Hello everyone, it's Jaden. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel.
If you're new here, then hello again. I hope your day's going well. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a list of 5 finicky fish that could be found for sale at most big box pet stores. With that being said, this is my own personal opinion, so don't come for me on that. And it is in no specific order, so it's not easiest to hardest, hardest to easiest, more difficult to less difficult. You get it. I'm just doing this because I found a lot of these fish are sold in big box pet stores, and they're sold as beginner community aquarium fish, a lot of these fish, which just is not true. A few of these fish that I will be naming do really well in a community aquarium environment, but they have very specific needs that have to be met 100% for them to be exhibiting those natural behaviors to where they are happy and not aggressive, territorial, and so on. And before I get into the video, I just want to say, if you guys aren't subscribed to my channel already, I don't know what you're doing. If you're watching my channel and you're not subscribed, what the heck? Smash the subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot, tremendously. And if you like this video, at the end, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and it would really help me out and to let me know what kinds of videos to make in the future and what you guys will like. And yeah, let's just get right into the video. Number 1 on this list for me is going to be the black skirt tetra, and even more specifically the long fin black skirt tetra variety. These fish are tropical fish, so they like water ranging anywhere from 72 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I've noticed that they do the best in like 78 to 80 degree water. They can do well in a pH ranging from anywhere to 6.5 to 7, so pretty normal. The one main thing that makes these fish really finicky, especially when they're sold as a beginner community, very peaceful fish, which a lot of the times they're not, let me break it to you, is that they are a schooling fish, which they do best in numbers of 6 or more for these fish, but they are very hard to sex, so it takes time for you to be able to get the right male to female ratio for these fish to not be aggressive and territorial to each other. On top of that, they require a very densely planted aquarium. They don't do well with fake plants, and I don't know about you, but when I first started to getting into the aquarium hobby and you don't realize how much money it takes and how much time it takes, a lot of the time a beginning aquarium hobbyist is not gonna have enough money or time to do an aquarium right off the bat when they're starting that's gonna be as heavily planted as it needs, as mature along in the cycling process as it needs for these fish to be comfortable, and to have enough room to have 6 or more of these fish, which they get pretty big. They get about 1 inch to 2 inches depending on the gender. And a lot of beginning aquarium hobbyists aren't going to have enough time to or money to accommodate that until later on in the line. But hey, you could be one of the people that does it really awesome and right the first time and does a really heavily planted aquarium. But a lot of the time, a beginning aquarium hobbyist isn't gonna know to do that unless they're doing really extensive research. So that's a reason why these are very finicky fish, and I don't think they should be sold as beginner fish in the pet stores. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 on this list for me is gonna be Chinese algae eaters. These are tropical fish, again, so they do like water temperatures ranging from 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I've noticed they do the best. pH ranging anywhere from 6 to 7.5, so a little bit higher there. These fish are really misunderstood, and a lot of big box pet stores, they're labeled as like just a sucker fish or an algae eater, which, yeah, they are an algae eater, and a lot of the time at a big box pet store, what makes these very finicky is that when you buy them at a pet store, they are very small and they're in their juvenile state. And in their juvenile state, a lot of the times people will go and get like 2 or 3 or 4 and put them in their 20-gallon long aquarium, which, yes, they're super cute, they'll thrive and they'll eat the algae, but as soon as they get out of that juvenile state, they require much more nutrition than just algae. A lot of the time you're gonna have to be giving them vegetables like zucchini and just squash that's blanched, broccoli, leafy greens, and a lot of the time people will find themselves getting a couple of them and then they turn out to be very, very, very territorial and very aggressive, especially towards other of their kind once they get out of the juvenile state. And even before the juvenile state, a lot of people will find themselves rehoming them because they just ate out of all of their algae, and then they don't have anything else for these fish to eat. So these fish are basically starving because you don't have there's no other source of food for them in there because they've already eaten all of the algae. So yeah, they basically end up starving in a lot of people's tanks, and people have to rehome them. They can be a really, really peaceful fish, but they require a very, very densely planted aquarium. Like my 20-gallon long right now, I have one in there, and he's still very territorial to all of the other fish. And it's so densely planted that I can't even see the back of the aquarium. So it gives you an idea of how densely planted this aquarium has to be, and how many nooks and crannies of rocks and hardscape that there has to be for this fish to hide in, or else it will be very territorial. Like I said, especially out of their juvenile state, they can be very territorial to other Chinese algae eaters, which I had two, and one eventually ended up killing it, even though I had them in a very, very planted tank, and they weren't even seeing each other. They need enough space to be able to create their own territory, so most likely opposite ends of a tank. So I wouldn't recommend more than one in an aquarium unless you have 55 gallons or larger, because they can get so territorial. And like I said, they're sold as a tiny little baby algae eater, and they're super cute, and they're sold as a beginning aquarium fish, but they turn out to be this very aggressive territorial monster, and they can get up to like 8 to 11 inches in the home aquarium. I've seen them even up to a foot long. So they're not any small little dainty fish that a lot of these community aquarium fish are. They get quite large, they get very aggressive, and the beginning aquarium hobbyist necessarily a lot of the time isn't going to have the time or money to start an aquarium that's very densely planted, because aquarium plants aren't cheap. So that's a few reasons why I would not recommend this as a beginning aquarium hobbyist fish. And they are very finicky, so any sudden changes in parameters can kill them. They're prone to fungus infections, fin rot, and they just get really erratic and stressed. So those are a lot of the reasons why I wouldn't recommend it as a beginning aquarium hobbyist fish, and why they're really finicky. Right, and number 3 on this list is gonna be skunk loaches for me. They are tropical fish again, so they do the best in water ranging from 78 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, I've noticed, and they do the best in pH from 6 to 7.5. First off, I just want to start by saying, don't ever get this fish. Well, I mean, you could do whatever you'd like, I guess, but this fish is so difficult. They are sold at pet stores like Petco and PetSmart as very peaceful beginner aquarium fish that are compatible with the community aquarium, which is absolutely not true. Don't believe anything you hear about these fish at a big box pet store, because I've heard so many horror stories about people getting these fish, getting a school of 7 or more of these, and they just wreak havoc on their community aquarium. They attack all of their fish, they're super aggressive, they're super territorial, and yeah, it's 100% true. I've had a couple of these fish for quite a while now, and I recently had to rehome them because they were getting so aggressive and so territorial in their mature life state that I couldn't even have them around any fish. I would have had to keep them with a species only tank, which I don't have the room for that. I don't have the time for that. These fish are in the loach family, so they'll eat snails, they'll eat anything like that. And again, they are super, super aggressive. They are in the aggressive category of fish. They should be kept in a tank only with aggressive fish. They will attack any large ornamental fish that you have. For instance, if you have a big gourami in there, they will attack it. They'll constantly attack it. If you have any big fish that is any larger than these fish that is a threat to them at all, they will attack it. If you do decide to keep these fish, then go for it. They can be a really amazing fish, but they need tons and tons of hardscape and tons of nooks and crannies and wood and highly densely planted aquarium that you're probably not even going to be able to see into because it has to be so planted to be able to feel comfortable. And again, they would do more comfortable in a school of 6 or more. But once you have them at that amount, they have to be in a very large space so they can get their own territory, and so they're not constantly fighting and killing each other and other fish. And yeah, with that being said, skunk loach, don't ever get that fish. It's terrible. Don't ever get it. Ever, ever, ever. Moving on to number 4. My little Chewini came in the room and decided to pay me a visit for my video, so now she's gonna be the little highlight of the video. This is Boots, if you guys haven't watched my video where I introduce my pets. She's little Chewini. Amari's right there too. Hi, Amari. Yeah, they're gonna be here. If you hear any scratchy, weird noises, then just ignore that. It's probably my dogs being freaking weird because my dogs do weird things. So, with that being said, I'm gonna be moving into number 4, and number 4 for me is gonna be neon tetras. Neon tetras are a very widely known, common species of fish, especially for the community aquarium. They are very peaceful. But the one thing that makes these, or a couple things that makes these a very finicky fish, is that neon tetras, if you put them in a newly established aquarium, they will die left and right. There's something about them that they require a very mature, established aquarium. For example, I put a bunch in my 20-gallon long when it was first starting, like the first 2 months, and they died left and right. I got like 15 and they died left and right. I thought they had a disease. They didn't. It was crazy. They were dying left and right. And then I later learned that and realized that they do much better in a mature, very well-established aquarium. Like I said, if you don't, then they're gonna be dying left and right. There may be the instance where they don't and they live, but a lot of the times they are very, very prone to dying in a not established aquarium. Also, they require, again, like most of these fish, a very, very, very highly planted aquarium. And for a beginning aquarium hobbyist, a lot of the time that's not very doable as far as money goes and time. And they are very, very prone to just fin infections or fungal infections, fin rot, and they have to be kept in a school of, I would say, 10 or more to be very comfortable to be exhibiting their natural behaviors. If I found that 10 or less fish, they start to get very territorial with other fish. They will harass any fish with long fins. They'll nip at them. They will start harassing each other. They'll kill each other. They'll be just really annoying to your other fish in your aquarium, as well as be territorial and aggressive towards each other. So you need them in larger numbers than most schooling fish, 10 or more. The bigger the number, the more comfortable these fish will be. And yeah, they're very prone to dying off. So any sudden swings in parameters, temperature, hardness, pH, these fish just love to die left and right. I don't know what it is, but they are very fragile fish. A lot of people like to say they're very hardy, but in my experience, once you get a school that none of them start to die off, then it's a really strong school. But until you get a very established tank and get a school that's gonna be very hardy, then they really love to die left and right. And when you're getting them in a big box pet store, a lot of the times the neon tetra is really, really weak and unhealthy, and they're just a lot of the times way too young, in my opinion, to be doing well in aquariums. So yeah, that's number 4 for me, and moving on to the next. All right, so last and finally, number 5 for me is gonna be plecos, plecostomus, whatever you wanna say. And especially at big box pet stores, these fish are so underrated and so misrepresented. A lot of the times they're sold as algae eaters or just a sucker fish to clean your aquarium, which it is true, they are tremendously amazing algae eaters. But again, in their juvenile state, they eat algae. Once they get mature, they still eat algae, but they need lots of surfaces to graze on, like wood, botanicals, glass, and they need, once they are mature, they need a very, very large amount of algae and plant matter to be able to sustain them. These fish, I've seen them get anywhere from 12 to 18 inches in a home aquarium, and they grow very, very fast. A lot of people will get a couple of these, throw them in a 20-gallon aquarium, and then a few months later, they're gonna have to rehome 1 or 2 of them because A, they get very territorial and aggressive with each other, B, they grow very, very fast, so there's not going to be enough space across the aquarium to keep more than one. And yeah, they require a very densely decorated aquarium with hardscape because they require a lot of space to hide and graze. And again, the beginning aquarium hobbyist a lot of the times isn't going to know that. Plecos at the big box pet store, people are like, oh, they're just an algae eater. You can throw them in your tank, they'll live off algae, which is partially true, but a lot of the times, same thing with the algae eater that I did in number 3, or I can't even remember what it was, but I did it on this list. The algae eater, it's much like the algae eater. People will bring them into their aquarium, they'll eat up all the algae and the food sources that they have because people don't have wood for them to graze on or botanicals, and the fish will basically starve to death because there's not enough food for it to eat. Yeah, plecos of any kind, not just the common plecos. I'm talking about plecostomuses of any kind. Yeah, they're just very underrated. They grow very, very fast. They can be very aggressive and territorial. And I honestly would not recommend it for a community aquarium, for an aquarium any smaller than 55 gallons. All right, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end off this video. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps me out a lot, and it gives me a better idea of what videos to make in the future and what the viewers like you would like to see. If you guys are, what was that? If you guys aren't subscribed to my channel already, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out tremendously, and me and Boots would appreciate it a lot. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye!